everybody, and welcome to this week's Gradcracker webinar, where we are really excited to be joined by global consultancy Atkins. Atkins is a leading consultancy with over 80 years of experience in design, engineering and project management. They have been advertising on their opportunities on Gradcracker now for over 15 years, and me and Jess have had the pleasure of being invited to their offices in Birmingham, Manchester and London. So right now on Gradcracker, they've got a huge range of opportunities available for you, our STEM students, to apply to. So these cover degree apprenticeships, internships, placements, graduate opportunities, all available for you to apply to on the Gradcracker Hub. And we'll be hearing all about the graduates' journeys so far today as part of the Gradcracker webinar. So first up, we're joined by Masood, who's the Early Careers Recruitment Specialist. So Masood, thank you very much for joining us today. Can you give everybody a bit of an overview about you and your role at Atkins?
Yeah, sure. So I work in the early careers team at Atkins. I look after the graduate placement and apprentice intakes for our transportation division, which is one of our largest UK businesses. I've been here about 2 years, just over 2 years, and I work across sort of various businesses, but my main focus is transportation.
Perfect. And this is going to give us a bit of an insight into the application process, hints and tips on what you should expect when you do apply to their opportunities. So Masood, sticking with you, 60 seconds, describe Atkins. Time's on, go.
Yeah, so quite varied at Atkins. In a nutshell, we're a global engineering, design and project management consultancy. So to explain what that means, we help clients plan, design and deliver major projects while offering full project lifecycle support. Our UK business is made up of 5 sort of sector-focused businesses. So there's the transportation, which I just mentioned, which is one of our largest businesses, and it's some of our major clients there are Network Rail and Highways England. We also have what we call our ADS&T business, which is aerospace, defence, security and technology, and they work on sort of UK defence and security projects. Nuclear and power, which is small modular reactors, and obviously the nuclear industry. Faithful and Gould, which is our surveying business, and then finally our infrastructure business as well. So those are the 5 key sort of core divisions within the Atkins business. Within those businesses, there are a huge number of sort of teams and sub-teams who work on a million and one things, so you could really end up doing anything here.
Yeah. It always blows my mind, doesn't it, Jess? Our mind, should I say, about the different projects that students can work on when they join Atkins, and just how big you are as an employer, and the amazing opportunities and projects that you get involved in. So thank you, Masood. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, they've got a lot of opportunities that are currently open on Gradcracker. So just to give you those figures, they've got 22 degree apprenticeships, all with a deadline of the 20th of February, and those are all to start in September. They've got 19 placements or internships, all with a deadline of the 5th of Feb. So obviously that's going to be the next couple of days. So if you are watching this webinar, make sure you get your applications into those opportunities. So a bit of a mix there when it comes to your placements and internships. So there are some summer advertised on Gradcracker, and there are some year-long placements as well. So the summer placements have a July start, and the year-long placements have got a September start. And finally, 19 graduate opportunities, all accepting lots and lots of students per opportunity, all with a deadline of the 1st of July. So you've got a little bit longer to get your applications in for those, accepting all STEM students, and they have a September start date. So just to throw a lot at you there, but there is so much to apply for, and so many brilliant opportunities. So, Masood, I've told the students about when these roles are due to start, when they're due to close. Tell me a little bit more what's on offer to them.
Sorry, I didn't quite catch the last bit there.
Just about the opportunities that are on offer. So is there any?
Yeah, sure. So there's a huge number of roles, as Carla mentioned, across graduates, placements, which some companies might call internships, but we call them placements, and then apprenticeships as well. So when Carla mentions that there's sort of 19 placement opportunities, that's 19 types of placement. So in total, we're recruiting around 600 plus graduates this year and 250 placements. So there's plenty of roles within different teams. Did go live a while ago. So in September, October is when we went live with those particular roles. So there have been quite a few offers already, but there's still hundreds of opportunities on our website and on the Gradcracker Hub that you can look at. So there's a huge amount depending on what your degree background is and what you're interested in and where you want to go with your career. But I'd also mention there's lots of opportunities once you're here as well. So there's temporary secondments to work on projects. There's a lot of internal moves, so people often join in one team and end up having a career in something completely different. So there's a huge amount of opportunity there that you can have a look through, and I'm sure there's something for everyone out there.
Yeah, definitely something for everybody. And I think that's a really good point, Masood, as well. So one opportunity advertised on Gradcracker can mean multiple opportunities at Atkins. So really good point there, Masood. And what I'd also like to do is speak to the students on this webinar all about the future of Atkins as well. I mean, you've got some really, really exciting plans in the future that I want to talk to the students about now. And you might be able to see from the Atkins people's backgrounds, there's a little bit of a rebrand going on there called Atkins Realis. So you've heard it here first. This is going to launch on Gradcracker in the next couple of weeks. We're really, really excited to change their hub, all new content, all new branding. But Masood, tell us a little bit more about what that actually means for you as a company.
Yeah, sure. So Atkins is quite well known in the UK, sort of founded in the 1930s. So we've been part of a larger international group for about 6 or 7 years now, which is called SNC-Lavalin. We've recently rebranded globally under one banner, which is Atkins Realis, and the purpose is to bring all the brands across the world that fall under the SNC banner into one business with one name. So Atkins obviously comes from the UK long-standing business, and the Realis is a reference to Montreal, where our parent company is headquartered. So essentially, we've combined those two into a new name and a new brand, which we're going to be using moving forward. So we're still exactly the same company, just with a new name and a new brand altogether.
Yeah, new logo, looking lovely. I like your background. And I think from a student's point of view as well, it will just mean more opportunities, more global opportunities, and that you can get involved in if you want to join Atkins. So thank you, Masood. We're going to join you again towards the end of the webinar just to talk about the recruitment process, hints and tips, etc., etc. But for now, I'm going to hand over to Jessica and speak to the grads who all found their jobs on Gradcracker.
Yay, perfect. Thank you, Carla, and thank you for both of you for doing that perfect intro. So, Freya, Hannah, and Enzo, first I want to start with where did you go to university and what did you study? So, Freya, I'll come to you first, if that's okay.
Yeah, so I went to university at the University of Portsmouth and I studied psychology as my degree.
Perfect. And Hannah?
So I went to Lancaster University. I studied natural sciences, which means I studied chemistry, biology, and environmental science.
Perfect. And Enzo?
To the University of Brighton, where I studied civil engineering.
Brilliant. So as you can see, from an audience perspective, 3 completely different kind of disciplines there now, coming into your kind of graduate roles now. And this is why I get so excited to hear about your journeys, because sometimes, when I'm speaking to graduates like yourself, they say, God, what I was studying versus what I'm doing now is just completely different. So I'm really looking forward to hearing about your stories. So Freya, I'm going to stick with you first because you're at the top of my list. Could you tell me a bit about when you joined Atkins and a bit about your current role?
Yeah, so when you join Atkins, you're very supported. You can ask lots of questions to your team and they'll help train you. My current role, I work in human factors. I'm a human factors graduate consultant, which is, for those that you don't know, in very simple terms, it combines psychology, anthropometrics, and ergonomics into a way that optimizes systems for our clients. Heavily focused on human-machine teaming, safety, cyber, and minimizing cognitive load and human error as well.
Amazing.
Wow.
So, yeah, I know. Where'd you start with that?
This is very big. Involves a lot of things.
Very broad. So go back to the beginning then. So you're in your final year at university, you're looking on Gradcracker. Why Atkins?
Why Atkins? I'd say the work culture is very friendly. The support that you get, I think, is very hard to find elsewhere. Say, for example, day to day, if I run into a problem or if I don't understand something, I can just message my colleague on Teams and say, can I have a quick phone call? Can you explain this further? I'm really struggling. Or I have even down to the small things like, I have a error on my timesheet. Can you help me? Or I don't know how to do this in this part of the function. They'll be able to help.
So was working for a large organisation such as Atkins an appeal to you? Because sometimes people can feel a bit nervous about applying to large organisations, but was that an attraction to you?
It was an attraction for me
Okay.
because everything's very established, and it has, at the start when you join, it has quite a good like networking opportunities. For example, I went to Bristol for a whole week and met everybody in
Okay,
ADS&T, which is my acronym, and you can network and get to know people from other streams as well.
Yeah.
So it's you feel really welcome, and you develop a network of people who I still know now, which is quite a nice welcome to a company when you just start off, especially if you haven't worked in a office environment before. I think it can be quite intimidating. So having that when you start, I think really helps to embed you into the company.
And yeah, settle you in nicely. So telling us a bit more about your current role then. So in terms of the size of the team that you work in, your kind of day to day, what does that look like, Freya?
Okay, so my team is about 19 people, but it's growing quite rapidly.
Yeah.
So yeah, and my day to day can be very varied. So it depends on the project that you're working on. So currently my day to day involves a lot of research, lots of psychological research, lots of strategy and planning, lots of client calls, lots of Excel.
Yeah.
And analyzing. And in the future, it'll be lots of qualitative and quantitative data analysis and running workshops and focus groups. So it can be very varied.
Yeah. It sounds it already, from when you first mentioned about your role. So, Freya, going back a second, so you only started Atkins in September.
Yeah.
So only a couple of months, really, obviously more than a couple of months, but not long you've been with the organisation. It sounds as though you're doing a lot already. You're saying you've got client calls, you're doing a lot. It sounds as though you've had a lot of experience already. What's it been like? And again, for someone who's, maybe a year behind you, thinking about applying to Atkins, it sounds as though you've been doing a lot. So yeah, break that down a little bit for the audience.
Yeah. So when I first started, I think I was about five days in when I got my first part-time on a project.
Okay.
Human factors is quite in high demand, so you're never going to be short of a project.
Yeah.
If you finish one and you have a particular interest, you can demonstrate that to your line manager, and they can try and find a project in that interest and grow you that way. But it can be seen as a steep learning curve. If you're in university and you've got a project in 5 days, but you are very supported and you're given materials which help you train. You also have a thing called personal development time, which is about half a day that you get. You can spread across your whole week, or you can use it in one lot, and you can train that way as well. So I like to research into ergonomics and train in that area, because I didn't have ergonomics or anthropometrics in my degree. Psychology I'm more comfortable with, but ergonomics and anthropometrics I'm still learning. But we do have experts in that field in our team. So I just go to them and I'll ask them, and they'll explain in a very clear way. I'll think that it's, I'll be there and thinking, oh my God, how do I do this? But they'll explain, it'll be very clear, and you can just use that.
You've got that support already from day one.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I was going to ask what anthropometrics means.
So basically, it's anthropometrics and ergonomics is essentially the design of, say, for example, you've got like a chair in a certain machine, or levers, so it's making things accessible and easily usable for the user, but also in a way, say, if you've got a control panel, for instance, and it's full of buttons and full of colors and full of systems, and you'll get overloaded cognitively and struggle to function. So it's a way of mapping that so that the cognitive load is less for the user, so that they can use it very easily.
Wow. Thank
Freya,
you.
absolutely going off topic slightly. Would you say the cognitive load is changing for your clients in terms of, like in age, experiences, say things like COVID, has that, affected people and their cognitive load?
I
Both
don't I
slightly
don't
different.
I don't know too much about COVID, but cognitive load can vary depending on the system that you're using. Age can be a factor. Research has shown that, but I haven't come across that so far.
No, interesting. Thanks. I haven't done my going. I warned you all. I'll go after you. I'll ask random questions. But Freya, that was absolutely fantastic intro. Sorry again, I've gone off slightly, but absolutely brilliant intro there. So Hannah, I'm going to come to you. Kind of the same questions, not about cognitive load though. A bit more about what your current role is like at Atkins and what you've been up to again since September.
Yes, so I joined in September, so I've been here 5 months or so. So my title is Graduate Waste Engineer. I'm working in the nuclear and power business, and then under that, I work in the decommissioning and waste services team. So it's very varied again. So where I'm based in Cumbria, it's a lot of work with Sellafield, so the nuclear site. So it's kind of dealing with waste that's there and doing this in a safe way for the people, doing it in a safe way for the environment. So there's a lot of different directions you can go in. So yeah, I've kind of taken that and kind of used it. So I've done work on different subject areas. I'm not entirely sure what I want to go into yet. So I've just been trying different things out. I think I'd totally agree with Freya. I mean, everyone was so lovely when I joined, really, really helpful. And also the development, the training is really there. You can kind of do that at the beginning, but also like each year you have an opportunity to decide what training you want to do. So to further your career, it's really good as well.
And Hannah, for you to go back a step again, why Atkins? Why did you, feel as though Atkins was going to be the right kind of graduate career for you?
So I think with Atkins, what was a bit different is that they didn't really focus on what you studied at university. It was kind of just, STEM degree, but I think it's very varied people. They don't specifically say you have to have a certain degree. And I think that brings in just so many different people, which helps so much with projects. It makes it so much more, successful, I think. And I think that's what I quite liked, especially because in my degree, I did multiple subjects. So for me, it was really good to know that flexibility would be there still once I started working.
And kind of coming to the role that you've got now, which you sound as though it is, again, quite broad. You can get involved in lots of different things. Are you doing things now that you didn't expect to be doing a year or so ago?
Yeah, definitely. I've done some things that have related back to like chemistry and things that I've done before, but I've been involved in things to do with the commercial side of the company, with the financial side, which has been amazing. It was something I never thought that I would be able to learn about. It's really varied, and I think if you kind of put yourself out there, the opportunities are just endless, really.
Yeah. You just need to put yourself out there. I think that's the key thing to encourage all students to do. And Hannah, to go back to kind of your day to day then. So you are in the lovely Lake District, and your day to day, what's the team like? Is there lots of you, or is it quite a small team?
So the team is about 80 people. It's grown a lot in the past few years. It's grown quite rapidly. But there's a lot of people seconded. So that means that they kind of work at client sites or work at client offices. So the office is sometimes busy, it's sometimes quiet. There's lots of variation. And I haven't yet, but I will be going onto site as well. So you also have that opportunity to kind of see things in motion and see what's happening, which is really cool as well.
Yeah, I always think it's a huge benefit, isn't it? Actually seeing it, the thing that you're working or the team that you're working with. And do you have like a hybrid approach then, Hannah? Can you work from the office as well as working from home?
Yes, so it's 1 day working from home and then 4 days in the office or on the client site.
Fantastic. Perfect. Again, fantastic intro. So thank you so much, Hannah, for that. And Enzo, all the questions above, start at the top, why Atkins? What's your role like at the moment? And yeah, I'll hand over to you.
Very much. First of all, I know I can't see any of you, but I'd love to thank everyone who's taken time out of their day to attend these meetings. And hopefully you'll gain something from it. But my role is a graduate geotechnical engineer within the Atkins Bristol office. So our team, my direct team day to day is about 35 people, but in at once it will probably be closer to 10, 15. We've got a good rotation of people that are in the office, working from home, or just out and about on sites, which is pretty cool. I've forgotten the questions now.
That was my fault, really. To be honest, I did just kind of chuck that at you. So yeah, starting from scratch then. So why Atkins? I would say Atkins for you and doing the discipline that you'd done was maybe more of an obvious employer, would you say? You did mention before this call that you had that kind of expectation of Atkins and what they did. So yeah, why Atkins for you? Starting there.
So yeah, Atkins was a company that I always kind of had roughly in my horizon because if you study civil engineering, and I hope we've got some civil engineers with us today, you will most likely have heard of them. So that was always in my horizon. And in terms of reading the offers that they were offering, I think they seemed to be the most kind of flexible company that was very much willing to teach you what you actually needed to learn. I'd gotten rejected quite a few times before for not having the exact specific degree that was demanded, whereas here it does seem like you get a lot more time to learn exactly what you like. Also, that's not a thing that gets discussed very often, but it's also very important. It was the salary that was very competitive. It's definitely the highest offer that I received. So that definitely plays a part into it. But yeah.
Enzo, you've made some really good points there already, and I think being honest is absolutely crucial in this game, because I think sometimes when students are applying, they're putting so much pressure on themselves, and you've got to boil it back down and you think, what do you want? What's going to be the right opportunity for you? So it's so brilliant to hear that yes, you did have some rejections, and yes, it didn't work out, but ultimately Atkins eventually was the right employer for you. And yes, salary, we all go to work every day to earn a salary. So yeah, really, really good to hear that, really good salary bands from Atkins as well. So in terms of kind of your day to day then, so tell us a bit more about your current role and what you've been up to so far. Because again, it was September you started as well, wasn't it?
So I started at the same time as Freya and Hannah, which was last September. So I've only been here for a few months, but my day to day has been really interesting, really busy, full of learning, full of discovering a lot of new stuff. As a geotechnical engineer, you do a lot of civil engineering, but you also have to lean a lot on the geology side of things, which I personally hadn't studied much, so it was all a little bit foreign to me. So in terms of day-to-day projects, a lot of it has been helping small time commitments for various small projects in terms of collecting data, writing reports, usually for government agencies, um, and trying to understand data that's been gathered on site or that's been available already, understanding ground conditions, understanding what makes up our site and what factors we need to consider prior to construction. Yeah, I think that sums it up.
So you mentioned, and Freya, you're kind of slightly similar as well. So when there's an area that you're not that confident in, how do you go about finding the time? Is it similar to Freya in terms of you've got that kind of half a day to work on that particular topic, or is it slightly different for you?
For me, it's been structured a little bit more differently. I think it was in my particular team was accepted that the first few months, most of it was going to be me just trying to tag along and learn as much as I could. So I didn't have specifically structured kind of you've got this amount of time to spend learning. It was more just trying to learn where I could. I didn't have any specific structure to it, but just everything was seen as learning at the beginning because um, you know, the stuff you learn at university is very good. It's very useful. It gives you a very good base for what you're going to learn if you do something that's relevant. But there will always be specialties that you need to learn relevant to what you actually have to do day to day.
100%. Yeah, and again, I think sometimes, students are in the final year or, looking for a placement opportunity, they put this added pressure on themselves that they're expected to know everything. So this is why these
Definitely.
webinars are so good. To hear from you guys saying, yes, I've done my degree and yes, I'm now in a graduate role, but I still don't know everything. And this opportunity is actually going to help me to learn more that I need to learn to develop my career. So really, really good points there. So Freya, I'm going to come back to you if that's okay. I know there's for all of you, there might be certain projects that you've done and been involved in, but what's been your kind of favorite project that you've got involved in so far that's kind of really stood out for you? Again, I know it's super early. It's only been since September since you've been there, but yeah, what's been your favorite project so far?
So I've been lucky enough to work on a variety of projects. I've experienced quite a variety so far, which is quite nice, but my favorite is my current project.
Okay.
So it focuses on cybersecurity and heavily focuses on psychology. So social, behavioral, cultural psychology, and mixing that into the project. I can't go into too much detail because I am within ADS&T and resilience. But yeah, I really like the project. I really like the research and finding out new things I didn't know about before. I didn't have the opportunity to research into cybersecurity and elements like that during my degree, so it's nice to further my learning. Yeah, really like it.
So Freya, again, without going into detail, would you say the reason why you like it so much then is because it's just something new, or is there another reason to why you like it so much?
I think it's a mixture, really. It's something new, but also it's quite varied.
Okay.
You'll get to research and learn things such as like stakeholder engagement or communication planning and strategy, and implementing that, and learning how to do stakeholder maps and things like that for this current project, which is quite a nice bit of new experience.
And this particular kind of project then, does that mean that then you're exposed and working with completely different clients, different team members? Are you in a different office location or not?
So I'm working with slightly different team members to projects before. I'm still in the same office, so I'm in Aldershot at the moment, and it's working with a new client. I haven't worked with this client before. Yeah.
And in terms of kind of coming off your last project to coming on to this one, what was that transition? So if any students are thinking about applying to Atkins and how they kind of carve their own career, how did you do that? How did you decide what project you were going to go on to next?
So when I started, because I wasn't familiar with ergonomics and anthropometrics, thought it'd be best if I had some experience in there so that I can start learning, especially at the start, because it's a fairly slower pace because you're learning more. And then I wanted to get familiar with the unfamiliar territories of my job first, so that when I join a project like psychology, I wouldn't, like a psychology project, I wouldn't have to worry about entering into the new areas of my role at a later stage. So
That's an interesting way of doing it,
Yeah.
You're not so confident first, because personally, I would run away from that. I'll stick to what I know first. And then worry about that later. But that's quite a really good way of doing it. So again, any of the audience listening, sometimes it's quite good to just bite the bullet, put yourself in that situation with you being new anyway. So yeah, really, really interesting. So thank you so much, Freya. I'm conscious that I want to ask loads more questions, but I know you're going to tell me no. So yeah, but thank you so much for that. Really, really interesting. Again, knowing that you're working on a topic like that, I've never expected to say it. So really, really good there. And Hannah, going to come to you. Similar kind of question, favorite project or something that stood out to you that you've worked on so far?
Yeah, so quite similar actually. I've been able to work on quite a lot of varied things. Nothing has been remotely similar to anything else, which is quite nice. And yeah, again, I won't go into too much detail because I can't. But So my favorite project is the one I'm working on right now. So it's characterization, which means that it's taking samples from a nuclear site and then sending the samples off, having them analyzed for different radionuclides that are present, and then kind of taking that analysis and deciding on the best way to dispose of the nuclear waste and everything safely. So it's quite chemistry based, which is quite nice, but there's also so much in it that I haven't done before. It's new and I'm learning a lot. And I actually got on this project because I spoke to my line manager about wanting to do some chemistry and see if that was kind of the direction I wanted to go in. So it's a perfect example of, they will listen to you and they will try and get you on a project that you want to be on.
Yeah, that's really, really good. It's good that you listen to, people are, taking on your thoughts and your opinions. Hannah, kind of again, I'm trying not to delve into too much detail, but kind of getting this experience, the nuclear sector is, a lot of change at the moment, a lot of things going on within that industry. Has that sparked an interest for you? Could you see yourself staying within the nuclear sector? What are you thinking now you're working with those clients?
Yeah, so I hadn't really considered nuclear much before I actually started here, before I got the job here. And I think that the more you learn about it, and like you say, it's such an exciting time for nuclear and it's really important. You'll never be out of a job, but it's definitely something that is really interesting and I'm really enjoying learning about the different parts of it.
Yeah. Do you know, sometimes, when you speak to, Carla, our clients here at Gradcracker and,
Yeah.
the that advertise with us and in those industries, sometimes there are those misconceptions, aren't there? Before you speak to them, before you hear what's going on, you think, oh, wow, yeah, really, really interesting there. So Hannah, in terms of your next project, what would that then look like for you? How long are you on this project for? And again, how do you decide when you're next going to transition?
So you kind of have to juggle sometimes. So I'm on this one right now, but I'm going on to another one quite soon. So it'll be a case of kind of juggling the two of them. That will actually be environmental based. So more kind of figuring out the effect on the environment and how relevant that is, and also how to prevent it when you're dealing with nuclear waste. So it's completely different. Those two projects are completely different, but that's really nice because it's never boring.
Yeah. And again, it gives you a better, broader understanding, doesn't it? Ultimately,
Yeah,
that's the game plan for you as an individual, but also a benefit for Atkins to have an employee like yourself. So, yeah, really, really exciting. So, thank you so much, Hannah. And then Enzo, coming back to you, you've kind of touched on a bit about your projects that you worked on so far, but what's been your favourite one?
So far, my favorite project has been one that I've worked here and there, kind of throughout the time I've been here, which was regarding the Lyman Banks landslide. If you're from Wiltshire, you might have heard this. You might have heard of it even if you're not. But there was a quite big landslide in near the town of Lynham in Wiltshire, which completely destroyed the road. And the reason that's been one of my favorite projects is because we got to go on site. We got to see kind of the affected areas in person, which was quite impressive. If you've not heard of it, look up pictures. It's worth looking at. But that was really interesting, and I got to learn about a lot of what happens on site. I got to learn about a new discipline, which is geomorphology, but I'd never even heard of before, which I got to get some training in while we were there. And I've been able to help with that project kind of as time has gone, helping understanding the site better and then putting together kind of remediation solutions, if you will, to what's happened and how can we fix everything.
As a STEM student, one of your kind of all of your key skills is being a problem solver. So that must be so. It's such a shame that it happened, but it must be so exciting to, be in that situation and think, right, how can we now fix this, and how can we make sure it doesn't happen again?
Exactly, yeah.
So yeah, tell us a bit about, how is that? Have you fixed the problem? Would the problem ever happen again? Have you come to the rescue and make sure that it's all good now?
as much as I'd love to be a knight in shining armor, it's a little bit more complicated, annoyingly. So the problem is unfortunately still there, that the road is still washed away.
Oh, is it?
We're currently working on understanding why the problem happened and how we can stop it from happening again. Because short-term solutions can be good, but obviously if it happens again, it could even be worse in the future. So that would be even worse and cost the council, for example, even more money. But so we're working on right now understanding what solutions we can do in working for different budget options, because working for a local authority, budget's a very important factor. So it's not just how do we fix this, is how do we fix it without overspending and over designing for no reason.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And ultimately, as a business, that's the goal, isn't it? You want to fix it, but within those restraints and within those margins. So in terms of, I suppose using the idea, for a student that's maybe never considered Atkins, and that kind of idea of working for a consultancy where you are supposed to come in and have the answers. Is that always been an appeal for you, Enzo? Or again, did you always know you wanted to work for a kind of consultancy firm before?
Maybe I never specifically thought to myself consultancy is where I want to be, but problem solving was always a very interesting part when I was at uni. And I think knowing a global consultancy is going to be able to give me the most amount of experience in the most diverse range of projects, I think is definitely a big appeal, because you want to see as much as possible, and you do get to when you start out. You're spending a few days at a time, sometimes a bit longer, on so many different projects. You get to see a lot of different aspects, and that leads you in future to knowing what you like, what you're going to be working on in the future, and then kind of leads you down your branching path for what you want to spend your time on in the future.
Yeah, definitely. Which kind of leads me, I see, on to the next question. So we've spoke a bit about it already, which sounds as though you get a lot of support, but training and development, from kind of the softer skills to, the real technical knowledge that you're all learning. Tell us a bit about the experiences that you've had so far. So Freya, I'm going to come back to you on that one, if that's okay.
Yeah. So the softer skills, you can have training on a platform called LearnZone. And it can train you on all sorts of things to do with the company, but you can also have training that can help your day-to-day job, like core consultancy skills training, which I've got coming up at some point this year. You can also have adaptability mindset training, which I had last Monday, which was actually really good. It's very interactive. Yeah, Enzo was in the call with me, and it was very interactive, very good, and also something that you can apply to your everyday job. So when you encounter a problem or something, something that might be troublesome, you can just kind of open your mind, take a pause, analyze everything, and then come up with a solution. So that's kind of the softer skills training that you can use. And then the technical training is a mixture, for me anyway, for on the job, and also personal development research, and looking at chartership videos, creating a log, and building up my skills, gap analysis as well. So if I'm missing a certain skill in a certain area of my job, I'll ask for certain tasks that can develop that skill, which can help towards my chartership as well.
Great, I'm glad you've mentioned that, because Enzo, while she was talking, I was thinking about chartership, and I thought, no, I won't jump and ask that yet, because it comes after my next question. So are you all thinking about getting chartered? Are you all on that kind of journey? Is that all what you want to do?
Yeah.
Hannah, you are nodding. Yeah, you are nodding. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's really good to know.
Yeah.
Sorry,
That's
everyone.
good.
I think I'm hearing a knock at my door. I'm just going to go see to that. I'll be right back. Is that all right?
Okay, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Hannah, I'll come to you next if that's okay. Again, training and development. Have you had similar experiences to Freya?
Yeah, so in the soft skills, definitely, I remember doing the adaptability mindset one a couple of months ago now. There's a lot like that. I can't remember the names of them to name them now, but you get a lot of that when you join, and they're really good. You can apply them to a lot of different things. I have also done like personal research. There was like time for me to do that at the beginning. I've done a lot of technical courses as well. So I've done some online courses in nuclear science. I did a 3-day conference course with lectures and site visits, site tours, and things like that. And then I've got a 5-day course coming up this year, which is technical again on decommissioning. So it's really, I've had a lot of training, I've had a lot of opportunities, and it's really, really helpful.
Hannah, how do you manage your time?
It's a learning curve. Yeah, but I think for me personally, I love to be busy. I can't bear being bored, so it's really good, and you can kind of pack as much in as you want or as you don't want to, so it's really good.
And a question there, again, for the audience listening, how do you have support for that? Do you have a mentor? Do you have anyone that can, help to make sure you're not getting overwhelmed with all the things that you should be doing?
Yeah, so my line manager really, we have bi-weekly catch-ups about everything, and checking that I'm not overbooked on time, that I've not got too much work, and that I'm handling everything really well. There's a lot of support in place, and if you ever had an issue, you really could just talk to anybody about it, and I'm certain they would help you. So it's very supportive.
Yeah, because it's definitely that fine line, isn't it? Especially at this early stage, you want to learn everything, but you've got to be careful that you don't kind of overload yourself and then, not take it all in. So it's good to hear that you've got that support. So yeah, really good there. Thanks, Hannah. Enzo, you're back just in time. So yeah, training and development. What experiences have you had so far?
Uh, um, I've been quite surprised at how much there has been, to be fair. So, for example, roughly every week we've got some sort of talk, whether it's in person or whether it's broadcast through the company kind of teams, regarding a lot of different relevant things to ground engineering, which is my team. So we've been able to tune into those most weeks. I've been invited to some talks in London, for example, which have been really fun to go to, where we get to learn about things that I don't really understand, but I'm trying my best to.
That's me
And
on
yeah,
the
we
podcast.
we had our team had and that's our team across the whole of the UK had a field trip to Wales in November, I want to say, where we got to visit a lot of different things and a lot of different active sites, and just learn about what we're doing, how it's going, how it's working, and the things that we need to know as engineers.
And so would you say there is quite a good kind of graduate community within amongst you all?
I
You know,
would say so, yeah.
yeah.
So I think this is one thing that I thought was quite good coming in is that there's quite a high intake of graduates, which means it's more than likely that you're going to have a good amount of people that are roughly your age on your team, which
Yeah.
is quite important in terms of socializing in general as well, in and out of the office. So I would say the graduates community in Atkins, the ones that I've interacted with anyway, have been quite good, yeah.
That's nice. Again, that you've got that, you're all kind of in it together. And again, a good way to network because, you
Very
guys
good, yeah.
are the future of Atkins in the sense. So it's good to create those relationships now because you never know where your paths are going to cross in the future. So talking about kind of coming away from the day job slightly and, again, over the years, Carla working with Atkins, we see on your hub, you do lots of exciting things outside of your kind of your day job. And it is a big part of, Atkins kind of giving back and extra things you all get the opportunity to get involved in. So yeah, Freya, I'm going to come back to you on that one. And what else have you been involved in kind of outside of your day job with Atkins so far?
So they hold socials. It can vary. It can be like once every month or once every other couple of months. And the ones that I've gone to have been in London, but they can be thrown in other locations. And it can vary. The activities can vary from Oktoberfest to cricket was one of them. Pottery painting is the next one, which is one that I've got my eyes on.
Yeah.
And it's really good for meeting new people. and you can end up working with those people on projects as well. I've had that before at it was a networking event in Bristol within ADS&T, and we got to chatting to loads of people. By the end of that day, I knew most of the people in the room, and I think that was the case for everybody else. There's quite a lot of interaction activities and funny games that you can play as well. And I've ended up working with one of the people who I met on that day in my project quite closely as well.
Ah, brilliant. Yeah, really good example of that then. So it makes sense why Atkins offer these, especially as a company the size it is, to get you, working across and, like you said, networking across those groups is really, really good. Hannah, have you had a similar experience, would you say?
Yeah, so I've done some of the networking events. I went to the New Starter one in Birmingham. So that was really, really good to meet people. I think as well, there's on a smaller scale, there's socials and things as well with the office. I know that they're really good here. So there was different Christmas do's in December, depending on the team, the office. So there's opportunity to do quite a few of those. You can do, I know we did a barbecue when I first joined when the weather was actually nice. So there's a lot of things that you do, and it's really nice to kind of build that community.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, community networking, it's all really, really good stuff. So perfect. Thanks, Hannah. And Enzo, last but not least, what else have you been involved in?
So, as I mentioned earlier, we had the ground engineering field trip, which was in November, where we went to Wales for about 4 or 5 days, which was basically all for most of it was fairly new staff, so quite a lot of new hires, which was great to get to meet people from different teams, get chatting to people. We had, as I mentioned earlier, we had academic, I want to say, events where we would learn about some of the works that were being carried out in the sites that we visited. We did some geology activities and stuff like that, but we also did some slightly more fun stuff. The team building stuff we did there sounds, when I say team building activities, sounds like a bit of a chore, but it was actually really fun. We went for a good night out together in Swansea, and if you've been for nights out in Swansea, you'll know what I'm on about. So that was quite fun. There are quite a few socials, as Freya and Hannah have both said. Those happen fairly regularly. And the ones that I've been to were mostly just go out for a drink with everyone, which was nice. I've tagged along to a few that weren't my team, to be fair, and that was all good.
That's nice. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. And I think there's quite a lot of stuff to do. There's groups as well for different hobbies. We've got a big social platform which I think is called Viva, something like that, where you get groups and you can talk to other people about things. There's a photography group that I get notifications from every now and then, but you get to talk to a lot of people about different things that aren't necessarily work as well.
Yeah. And again, it's nice that Atkins encourage that, hobbies and interests and passions and, motivations. Again, it all just means then you're pulling in the same direction, which is really, really good. So guys, absolutely fantastic. I'm sure everyone on the call today, it will definitely be inspired and enthused to put an application into Atkins. So Carla, I'm going to hand back to you and find out a bit more about the application process.
I'm intrigued, Enzo, about what night out in Swansea looks like. So after this, we can reconvene. You can tell me all about it because I've never done that. So, yeah, I like that. Thank you. I'll bring you back. Masood, so we've heard about all the experiences from the graduates so far. And I've mentioned at the beginning of the webinar about all of the opportunities that are currently open on your hub on Gradcracker. So again, thoroughly read the job descriptions. All the details are on there. The students click through and apply. What's in store for next? What is the application process?
Yes. So the good news is that we've shortened our application process for graduates and placements this year, last year as well, actually. The three of the grads on this call will probably know the selection process quite well, so hopefully you won't have too many flashbacks to your interview. But yes, the first step, obviously, in terms of preparing is having a look on the Gradcracker hub to try to decide where you might best fit, really. Different parts of our business are looking for different degree backgrounds. So have a think about what suits you. I mean, there's a ton of resources on the Gradcracker hub that you can read through, and that's probably the hardest part of the process, really, trying to decide which role to apply for, because we only allow one application per person per intake.
Yeah.
So the first step really is to read about all the different roles, have a look at the blogs, the videos, read through the information on the adverts, and have a think about where you might best fit. And then you need to submit an application on the site. So you'll link through from the Gradcracker hub, and you'll submit your application, which is your personal details and why you've applied for a certain position, your degree background, and your modules, and so on. Once you've submitted that application, you'll then be invited to complete an online assessment, which will tell us more about your behaviours, your numerical ability, your verbal reasoning, and how you think. And if you pass those assessments, you need to meet a minimum benchmark. The recruitment team will then consider your application as a whole, and then shortlist for an interview. So if you've been successful in reaching the interview stage, that's the final stage of the process. So you'll complete a virtual interview with one of our teams, depending on which team you've applied for. And then we'll be in touch with a decision not long after your interview to let you know if you've been successful, and organise your offer and onboarding. So that in a nutshell, that's how the process works from end to end.
Perfect. And from your point of view, Masood, I know you speak to a lot of students, you see a lot of applications. Any specific hints and tips? You mentioned two things there. So why are students chosen that particular team to work in, and also the interview? From your point of view, how can students be successful? What kind of skills are you really looking out for when you are speaking to students during the application stage?
Yeah, so I suppose the first thing is get your application in. People stall and delay and think about it and wait to hear from other jobs or wait to see what result they get in their degree. Don't need to have your results. We just need to know what you're predicted in your degree, whether it's a 2-2, 2-1 or a first. And different roles will accept different degree levels. So have a good look at the advert. But I suppose it's a bit cliche, but it's all about research, really, in terms of hints and tips, and what you can do to stand out. So on the hub, you can watch the videos, read about the different projects we're involved in, read the job descriptions. There's a huge amount of information available to you to find out more about Atkins. And because we're so huge, it can feel quite overwhelming, but there's a lot for you to read through and decide what suits you best.
Yeah.
And the other thing I'd suggest with your research is try to focus your time around the team you've applied for. Atkins is so big that people can often take their research in the wrong direction and spend time researching Atkins in general. And the interviewers will very much want to hear why you've chosen to apply for that specific team. So what interests you about it, how your academic background applies, how your previous experiences will help you in post if you're successful. So it's very much about finding out more about the team you're applying for rather than Atkins as a whole. If you start talking about sort of Atkins, you're going to sort of be overwhelmed, just because there's so many different divisions within the business and different sub-teams, and you've heard from the grads today the amount of different projects that we work on. So focus your research very much around the team that you've applied for. So have a good look at all the information available. So obviously a huge amount of information on the hub. One final tip is when you click apply on Gradcracker, you'll then reach the Atkins advert. Have a look for the Meet Our Grads link, which will allow you to sign up on a platform we use called Connector, and that allows you to message current grads at Atkins with questions about their experiences of working at Atkins and even the selection process, because they will have been through a similar selection process to you. So there's lots of information on there as well that you can ask questions about, and it'll help you prepare.
Perfect, thanks, Masood. And mention that you've watched this webinar. That's another resource that Masood will look out for as well when you do get your applications in. And similarly to your tool on the Atkins website, we've got 3 grads here who are going to now speak about the hints and tips about their experiences. I know you've all recently been through the application process in the last year or so. So Freya, I'm going to come to you first. So hints and tips from a student going through the application process, what would you suggest?
Yeah, so when I applied on Gradcracker, I actually watched the whole webinar all the way through. And I made notes about what they said. They brought up values and making sure that the job aligns with your values and that Atkins values align with your values. And then do a bit of research into your specific area. That's what I did, to find out what kind of work your area within the business does. And then I'd say, tips wise, make sure that you apply in time. Don't leave it until last minute, the day before, or anything like that. Set up a reminder and make sure that you apply with plenty of time. Carry out some research, perhaps that there's a particular project that's really interesting to you, that aligns with what you're interested in. Maybe you've worked on something similar in uni. That's one thing that I would really advise for the interview, is look back to your uni experience. If you haven't had particular office experience, perhaps you've been a project manager for a project at your uni, or you've done lots of presenting skills, things like that. Think about that and how you could take that uni experience, adapt it, and make it relevant and transferable to your hopefully future role.
I think it's about, Jessica's nodding so much her head's going to fall off. And I think, you know, this is something that we say on every single webinar. It isn't just about actual like technical experience. It could be being part of a society, you know, it could be working in a shop or anything like that, that it shows those transferable skills as well. I'm glad that you watched the last webinar. Me and Jess were being a bit nostalgic earlier on. Atkins was the first webinar we ever held back in 2020, all those years ago.
Oh, so nervous.
I know. Oh, could be sick. Thanks, Freya. Really valuable advice. Hannah, what advice, hints and tips would you give?
Yeah, so I mean, everything Freya said is really true. I think just think about like why you want the role. Really think about it and what it would mean to you, and what your goals are and how it would help you get there. I think that's really important. Make sure you learn about the company, do your research, and being able to bring up different projects they're on is really good as well. But I think, you know, everybody told me this before and I never believed them, but try and enjoy your interview. I actually ended up enjoying it. I didn't believe I would, but, you know, try and be relaxed. They're looking for, you know, your skills, your qualifications, but they're also looking for who you are as a person and your personality. So try and relax, try and enjoy it, and yeah, you should be fine.
Take deep breaths. Thank you. Thanks, Hannah. Enza, what would you finish off with?
I've got some tips for people that may be looking to apply for specifically the role I've got, which would be geotechnical engineering. First of all, if any of you are studying civil engineering, definitely consider geotech. It's very fun. But if you're looking at applying for geotechnical, I would say learn QGIS, the program. Very useful. We use it a lot. It would definitely put you ahead, I would say. It's a free program. You can download it on your own. Definitely recommend that. If you're looking at any disciplines that require some site work here and there, try and get your CSCS card as a student, because that will get you on site right when you come in, which is good for more work. And again, that's another asset you can add. I was offered to take my CSCS test when I was a student every other month, every other year, and I thought, nah, it's fine, it doesn't matter. And I've got it now, but it's always useful to have. And just maybe a bit more of a general tip, I suppose. Don't give up. Uni's a hard time. Uni can be very difficult, more for some people than others. I had to retake my final year, so I did that twice. So I know what that's like. But just don't give up. I'm here now with a great company, great job, great time. And I would say that's probably my number one tip, really.
Yeah, brilliant. Show some resilience, and then you'll always get there. Your dreams will always come true in the end. Thank you very much, Enza. And favourite 2 rounds of the webinars, we're going to talk about your favourite thing. Enza, I think you're just going to say everything. Favourite thing about working at Atkins, and Freya, going to come to you first. What's your favourite thing?
Favourite thing would have to be the variety of projects that you can work on, particularly within my area, human factors. One moment you can be working on a anthropometric project, the next minute you can be working on a psychology project. So the variety in the day-to-day task is really refreshing. So you don't get stuck doing the same thing every day. It's quite nice. That's definitely one of my favourite aspects.
Perfect. All the projects are open to you to get involved in. And Hannah, favourite thing so far?
Yeah, mine's quite similar, but varied projects and also varied people. You can bump into someone in the hall and start talking about something, and learn about different projects, learn about different backgrounds, and I think that's really good for just growing your knowledge and networking and things like that.
Perfect. Thanks, Hannah. Enzo?
I would say my favorite things are a little bit of what's been said already. So varied projects are very interesting. I would say it's also the freedom that we get given of how we complete things, when we complete things, and how we do things. It feels like my line manager and my team really trust me to get what I need to do done. So that shows itself in flexibility of work hours, work location, just trust you to be competent, I suppose.
Yeah.
And also the people that I work with, great team. Everyone's great. Everyone's been really nice. Always able to ask for advice for anything. And I think that really does go a long way when it comes to working in any job, really, but especially like a high stakes job.
Yeah, it's such an open culture. I think that's something that me and Jess have found over the years with working with Atkins so closely. Everybody's so friendly, so approachable. And when we've been to all of your different locations as well, that you're always welcome with open arms. So definitely can second that, Enzo. And Masood, what's your favourite thing?
There's loads of stuff, but I quite like hearing how the grads are getting on. I was quite amazed to hear you've only been here 4 or 5 months and how much you've all done already, both socially and on projects, and you all seem to be quite stuck into various things. So it's really good to hear about that. Yeah, I really like the people here as well. The team are great. And going back to what I think Hannah said about the interviews, our interviews are really nice people, so try and relax and be yourselves, because we're not grilling you, we're just trying to help you perform at your best, really. So the people are great, and the team I work in is really good as well. Flexibility that somebody else mentioned as well is great in terms of hybrid working and flexible hours and those sorts of things. But also just some of the values at Atkins as well. We are sort of quite aligned in terms of sustainability, and sort of aligns with a lot of our views in the business in terms of the employees. We're playing a big part in sort of working towards net zero in the UK. So Atkins sort of plays a huge role in that. So there's lots of things that are great, and quite enjoy challenging people to a game pool as well in the Birmingham office. So that's some of the offices are quite good.
Well, you heard it here first. Need to challenge Masood to a game of policy if you join. Yeah, but it makes you so proud, doesn't it? Seeing the graduates and interns and degree apprentices going through the process, and now at the other end of it, when they've worked on all of these fantastic projects. But you sit there and it warms your heart a little bit. And I'm going to stay with you, Masood, if that's okay. Your cool and interesting fact about Atkins.
Yes, yeah. So I guess some of the projects we work on, which you might be familiar with. So some of you may have heard of NEOM, which is the project to build a 9 million population city in the Saudi Arabian desert, and it's along the line, which sort of blows my mind. There's lots of videos and it's in the news quite a lot. So Atkins have been appointed to work on that. Birmingham New Street as well, the redevelopment of that Grand Central was designed by Atkins as well. So lots of huge projects like that you probably, some of you may use Birmingham New Street who are listening to this. So lots of things that you probably have in your everyday life that Atkins has been involved with.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much, Masood. Freya, cool fact.
Yeah, so there is the ECF forum, so Early Careers Forum, where you can engage in like a variety of different streams, and they throw events as well, which is the events that I've been to, the social events. But it's also there's opportunities for you to take an additional role or gain additional experience. You can be, for example, you can be the well-being lead, or have the opportunity to be the well-being lead or well-being champion, and gain new skills as well. So that's a cool fact for Atkins.
Yeah, you forgot to mention trampolining.
Oh yeah, trampolining.
I'm so excited about trampolining. I love trampolining. Thanks, Freya. Hannah?
Yeah, so there's offices all over the country. You wouldn't believe how many offices there are, and mine happens to be right next to the Lake District. I've got an amazing view out the window. I'm right next to it, so for me that's very cool.
What are you seeing? Are you seeing fells?
So just like hills just hills and hills as far as the eye can see.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you very much. And Enza, what's your fact?
Is how many kind of industries that Atkins covers. I always only thought that it was kind of construction based, but there's the nuclear sector, there's the ADS&T, there's so many different sectors that we cover that I was quite blown away, to be fair. I thought it was just construction, but there's so much there.
Yeah, huge company. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us today. It's been a brilliant insight into the world of Atkins, and make sure, like me and Masu said at the beginning of the webinar, that you get your applications in. Don't miss out on your perfect opportunity. This webinar will be live on the Atkins Hub this afternoon, and as always, we'll break it down into bite-sized chunks, which will be live on the Atkins Hub and in the Career Centre as from tomorrow morning or mid-afternoon. Me and Jess will be joined in a couple of weeks' time, so the next webinar will be on the 22nd of February, where we're joined by DMV, who are experts in risk management and assurance, so please join us there then. But for now, thank you, Atkins, it's been amazing, and we'll see you all again soon.
Thanks,
Bye,
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Go on.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.